Digital divide. The concept of digital immigrants and digital natives. What is digital divide? As used here, the term digital divide refers to the gap between individuals, households, businesses, and geographical areas at different socio-economic levels with regards both to their opportunities to access information and communication technologies and to their use of internet for wide variety of activities. Access to the basic telecommunication infrastructures is fundamental to any consideration of the issue, as it precedes and is more widely available than access to and use the internet. The digital divide refers to the difference between people who have easy access to the internet and those who do not. The global digital divide refers to difference between countries in terms of access to ICTs. ICT access inequality is called as first order digital divide, and ICT use inequality is called as the second order digital divide. The digital divide problem has different dimensions: geographic, demographic, and socio-economic dimensions. The term digital divide was introduced by Larry Irving Jr. The digital divide as an inequality in access, distribution, and use of information and communication technologies between two or more populations. Aspects of digital divide. There are 8 aspects of digital divide: physical access, financial access, cognitive access, design access, content access, production access, institutional access, and political access. There are also philosophical and sociological sides of digital divide because of potential missed opportunities on the part of millions of people to obtain desirable jobs and enhances their lives by using computers and the internet. The digital divide refers to unequal patterns of material access to usage capacities of and benefits from computer-based information and communication technologies that are caused by certain satisfaction process that produce classes of winners and losers of information society. Next, measuring the digital divide. Because of current interest in these issues, both among government and public, the Organizations for Economic Cooperation and Development has begun efforts to measure the digital divide. In addition to communication infrastructures, important indicators appear to the computer availability and potentially the availability of alternative access through TVs or mobile phones and internet access. The digital divide among households appears to depend primarily on 2 variables: income and education. Other variables such as household size, type, age, gender, racial and linguistic backgrounds, and location also play an important role. The difference in personal computer and internet access by household income are very large and increasing, but access in lower incomes groups is rising, largely through its effects on income. The higher the level of education, the most likely individual have to access to ICT. There are variety of arguments regarding why closing the digital divide is important. The major arguments are the following. First one, economic equality. Some think that the access to the internet is a basic component of civil life that some developed countries aim to guarantee to their citizens. Telephone is often considered important for security reasons, health, criminal and other types of emergencies might indeed be handled better if the person is in trouble has an access to the telephone. Another important fact seems to be that much vital information for people's career, civic life, safety, etc. are increasingly provided via the internet. Even social welfare services are sometimes administered and offered electronically. Next, social mobility. Some believe that computer and computer networks play an increasingly important role in their learning and career, so that education should include that of computing and use of internet. Without such offerings, the existing digital divide works unfairly to the children in the lower socioeconomic status. In order to provide equal opportunities, governments might offer some form of support. Next, democracy. Something that the use of internet would lead to a healthier democracy in one way or another. Among the most ambitious visions are that of increased public participation in elections and decision-making processes. Next, economic growth. Something that the development of information infrastructure and active use of it would be shortcut to economic growth for less developed nations. Information technologies in general tend to be associated with productivity improvements. The exploitation of latest technologies may give industries of certain countries a competitive advantage. Next, digital natives. Digital natives and digital immigrants were popularized by the education consultant Mark Spensky in his article entitled Digital Natives. Digital Immigrants, in which he relates the contemporary decline in American education to educators' failure to understand the needs of modern students. His article posted that the arrival and rapid dissemination of digital technology in the last decade of 20th century had changed the way students think and process information, making it difficult to them to excel academically using the outdated teaching methods of the day. In other words, children raised in digital media's saturated world require a media-rich learning environment to hold their attention, and Spensky called them as digital natives. Globally, 30% of the population born between 1988 and 1998 had used the internet for over 5 years as of 20 digital natives. Digital immigrants. Mark Spensky defines the term digital native and applies it to a new group of students enrolling in educational establishment, refers to young generation as native speakers of the digital language of computers, videos, video games, social media and other sites on internet. Spensky did not strictly define the digital native in his article, but it was later applied to the children born after 1980. The idea became popular among educators' parents whose children fell within Spensky's definition of digital native and has since been embraced as an effective marketing tool. It is important to note that Spensky's original paper was not a scientific one and that no empirical data exists to support his claims. However, the concept was widely addressed in academic literature, since mainly in education research, but also in health research. Pensky has since abandoned his digital native metaphor in favor of digital wisdom. More recently, the digital visitor and resident idea has been proposed as an alternative to understand the various ways the individuals engage with the digital technology. It is also argued that digital native and digital immigrant are labels that are simply the classification scheme, and that there are categories that can be considered undetermined based on the framework of previous assignations. The critique of Pensky's conceptualization has resulted in the further refinement of the terms. The digital natives have been further classified into three: the avoiders, minimalists, and enthusiastic participants. The avoiders are those who do not depend on technological devices and use technology minimally, while the minimalists make use of the trends, although not as often as the enthusiastic participants. Next, digital immigrants. As digital immigrants learn like all immigrants, some better than others, to adapt to their environment. They always retain to some degree their accent, that is, their fruit in the past. The digital immigrants' ascent can be seen in such things as turning into the internet for information second rather than first, or in reading the manuals for a program rather than assuming that the program itself will teach us to use it. Today's older folks were socialized differently from their kids. They are now in the process of learning a new language, and language learned later in life, scientists tell us, goes into different parts of the brain. But digital immigrants typically have very little appreciation of these skills that the natives have acquired and perfected through years of interaction and practice. These skills are almost totally foreign to the immigrants, who themselves learn and so choose to teach slowly, step by step, one thing at a time, individually. And above all, seriously, digital immigrants don't believe that their students can learn successfully while watching TV or listening to music. Of course, note they did not practice this skill constantly for all of their formative years. Digital immigrants think learning can not be fun. Why should they? They didn't spend their formative years learning in Sesame Street. Unfortunately for our digital immigrant teachers, the people sitting their classes grew up on pitch speed of video games. They are used to the instantaneity of hypertext, download music, phones in their pockets, a library on their laptop, beamed messages and instant messaging. They have been networked most or all their lives. They have little patience for lectures, step-by-step logic, and tell-test instruction. Digital immigrant teachers assume that learners are the same as they have always been, and that the same method that worked for the teachers when they were students will work for their students now. Next, impact of digital divide on education. The internet offers a rich reservoir of information and knowledge. Skills and expertise are well organized and conveyed over the internet, making the use of computers to be a ubiquitous activities in the developed world. The access and availability of ICT have been associated with academic success and robust research activities, since users can quickly make references. Education is a very dynamic sector, and keeping up to date is crucial to success. The presence of internet access will ensure you get the latest trends and revolutionize your research skills. The inadequacy of ICT equipments have made the already weak education system in the developing countries even more ineffective. Governments are now striving to avail ICT services to schools on efforts to improve the education standards. Installation of computer laboratories, provision of laptops to every student, among other strategies, have shown remarkable success rates. Impact of digital divide on education. The internet offers a rich reservoir of information and knowledge. Skills and expertise are well organized and conveyed over the internet, making use of computers to be a ubiquitous activity in the developed world. The access and availability of ICT have been associated with academic success and robust research activities, since users can quickly make references. Education is very dynamic sector, and keeping up to date is crucial to success. The presence of internet access will ensure you get the latest trends and revolutionize your research skills. The inadequacy of ICT equipments have made the already weak education system in the developing countries even more ineffective. Governments are now striving to avail ICT services to schools in an effort to improve education standards. Installation of computer laboratories, provision of laptops to every student, among other strategies, have shown remarkable success rates. Thank you.